Guess what? EA just got schooled by its own players. It's pretty fun. Apex Legends' Battle Pass. It's still earnable with in-game currency. You know, all of that stuff that led to 60,000 plus negative reviews? Well, some things have happened. EA's plan to squeeze a bit more money has been kind of crushed, but also kind of not. Because the real story here is EA struggling. Its long-term franchises basically barely holding the fort, hello Battlefield, and now some pretty real competition coming in. So now more than ever, EA needs its fans, which means it's kind of a shame about the years of missteps that got us here. And if you'd like to keep us here, well, here's today's sponsor. Boot.dev/Bellier News. They are going to teach you back-end web development using Python and Go, and they're going to make it fun. They are an online self-paced platform 100% designed to get you writing code. That means you'll be working through game-inspired problems, and at boot.dev/Bellier News, you'll get 25% off your first purchase. They have a wealth of content, but they're very much not stopping. They just shipped Learn Git. Of course, Git is a vital developer skill, and they've announced 3 more courses they're working on. Git 2, Memory Management in C, which brings me back to my final year project, and Linux sysadmin, as well as a project to build an asteroids game. But of course, if that all seems a bit daunting, don't worry. You'll be going from the fundamentals, like, say, learning Python, all the way through to the more advanced topics, and that's done, of course, by people with real experience in the field. And beyond just writing code, you'll also find that your abstract thinking skills get a bit more sharp, and based on my own experience, it does help you build up your confidence. So, they're the real deal. You can check them out today at boot.dev/Bellier News, where that code Bellier News gets you 25% off your first purchase, and it's all backed by their no questions asked 30-day money-back guarantee. And of course, you can check out free demos for all of their courses by just going to the site. They're a terrific bunch. With that said, let's get into the video. Okay, we've got a lot to talk about today. Be it Apex, be it Battlefield, or just generally how are EA, not always getting the best headlines. So here's the deal. Apex made a post on the 24th that partially reverts their plans to change the Battle Pass. To say that audience pushback to this was large and spicy would be putting it very, very, very mildly. Anyway, they say, we recognize that we could have handled the Battle Pass changes better. That's on us. Moving forward, we recognize the need to be more timely, transparent, and consistent in our communications with you. Your priorities are our priorities, says the Apex Legends team. Brackets, Electronic Arts Corporate, those may be different. Anyway, they talked about a big focus on fixes for long-term issues that had been prioritized for the launch of Season 22. Now, this is something that was rushed out as staff basically tried to get sign-off on these changes. Like, staff have literally said that, look, hey, we're at a big company here. It actually does take layers of approval to actually get things out to you, so... yeah, that's fun. But anyway, here's what's happening. The Premium Battle Pass will now always be available for 950 Apex coins, which is the same as Seasons 1 through 21. It still will be, though, a 6-week season at 60 levels. But it will have 92 rewards, including 1,300 premium currency, 1,200 crafting materials, 14 Apex packs, and 10 exotic shards. And of course, the big thing, that you will be able to earn enough currency in one battle pass in order to get the next one. So that'll be good news to people. But of course, EA still does want to make some of their money, so there will be the option to purchase the Ultimate or Ultimate Plus Battle Pass with real currency. So the former, merely Ultimate. Plebeian. Embarrassing. Ultimate. Ugh. Should get Ultimate Plus anyway. No, what it is Premium Pass and instant rewards. Love some instant rewards, don't we all? 8 free Apex packs and 1,200 currency. Of course, for the patrician class, for those who are well-to-do and, of course, are more valuable humans. The Ultimate Plus Battle Pass. Yes, it's got all the above, plus 10 extra exotic shards, 2 extra legendary skin variants, 10 Battle Pass skips, and all the legends unlocked during that season. So that's your premium offerings. And of course, the other thing here is, you'll need to give more attention to the game because it is an expiring 6-week season rather than a 3-month season. So, yeah, this is very much play for retention, isn't it? That does make a lot of sense. Like, I think actually it is Andrew Wilson of EA who, has the quote of like, look, the thing that correlates with more money is player time, which does make a lot of sense. So you can see these very fast, aggressive styles of battle passes, basically, being done for that. You look at a game like Overwatch, and it's just to the point where it's like, guys, come on. Oh god. No, I'm not going to go on a rant about Mythic skins, or of course, as is now available for $40, Mythic Weapons. It's a fun mid-season update. But anyway, there's also the real material incentive to pay money each time, of course, because of the additional cosmetics and the tier skips. The fact that those variants are only in Ultimate Plus version. Obviously, if you look at something like Overwatch, you want to get Reinhardt's big hammer, well, that's $40, and that's the way that they're going to be doing that sort of thing. You buy the big bundle for the season, and that gets you legendary whatevers, ultimate whatevers that are only available from the real money transaction. This whole thing that they were doing was meant to convert free-to-play players who hadn't put money into the game. Those people are now very much incentivized to pay, but they are still not forced to pay. This is very much Respawn and EA just capitulating to the outrage, and that outrage has been strong. So, overall, the game is at 70% positive from 900,000 reviews, but the more recent ones, 7% positivity from 82,000 reviews. That's a push. Holy shit. And honestly, it's kind of funny. Community sentiment is in a way more important than ever. EA needs to get audiences on side, and in a way also now more than ever, because in June 2023, EA Sports and EA Entertainment became separate organizations within EA. EA Sports is very fine because, right? Not only do they have all the normal sports things going on, but they just had 2.2 million sales for EA Sports College Football 25. And that's 2.2 million sales for the $100 Advanced Access Edition. Sports makes money. Money that is separated on the balance sheet from EA Entertainment money. That's kind of the fun thing then. EA Entertainment is very much not really going to be as propped up by sports numbers. And that of course means they're trying to find ways to get more revenue from people and to keep people engaged. So they've obviously got first party, big premiums like the Jedi games, like Dragon Age, maybe the odd EA original or something like that. But the thing that matters the most is their live services, which have had interesting and tumultuous times. First thing, The Sims 4. Sims is absolutely humongous. It just doesn't really have a Venn diagram that intersects with most of us. But Sims 4 is it's now free to play. A team is actually assigned to work on core features and basically support for long-term structural problems. There is like a new Sims project, but that was very much framed as being far, far, far away. And, you could have said Life by You could offer some competition to that, but Paradox killed that. And then, of course, Apex, which has been focusing on trying to get their revenue up, basically after they have not been able to come close to their lifetime peak. And that's basically the problem they've had. They had some amazing numbers a while back, and that's seen them do things that people haven't liked. I think a real good example of that is the fun gacha Buster Sword stuff that they did, with their sort of Final Fantasy tie-in thing, because of course, it is the modern world, and if you like a game that has a world or a universe or, some, I suppose, coherence, no, don't worry. The brands are going to invade. But let's take a look at some numbers then. So broadly, right, the pattern is the same. High at the start of a season with some peaks during events and, broadly a decline during the season. Does make a lot of sense. And that's something that's layered on top of the longer term trend, which is lower numbers over time. So let's take a look at the chart. You can see that post July 8th, there is, there's increases during the first weekend after, then continuous trend of decline towards the end of the season. And interestingly, no immediately discernible damage done in Steam. And I think that does actually make sense because, look, I mean, it's Apex players who are engaged and actually give a shit about the game who are going to be giving this feedback. So that really is not a surprising thing to me. It's not going to be a sudden cratering or anything, but it is going to be people being a little bit more pissed off over time. Of course, this is not including consoles. It's not including EA Origin. Remember that? It's not including that. So I think our takeaway there is that this is just audiences saying very, very loudly, we do not like this. That does mean that the proof will be in the start of the next season who actually chooses to hop on for that. Now, this is a little bit of a part of a wider problem for EA, which is keeping their long-tail franchises and audiences kind of going, right? Now, of course, Apex Legends is not really an EA thing. Like, look, the reason why Apex exists is because they kind of covertly playtested it and kind of hacked the thing together at Respawn, and then eventually, sort of months later, they were able to then show it to EA and, yes, actually get the game going. Now remember, Vince Zampella, yeah, he is in the EA board. That meant that Respawn just had a little bit more sway and power. When you look at everything else, well, that's kind of like EA running studios in a way where those studios are not really that insulated from EA. That's going to cover the likes of The Sims, Skate, Plants vs. Zombies, and of course the big one being Battlefield. For the longest time, and with all their sports games, the whole plan is there is a new game with a live service every single year, right? You look at Battlefield. What do they want for the longest time? A new Battlefield every single year. They were kind of going hog wild doing some of that stuff. Battlefield Hardline, I think, for a lot of people was just completely ridiculous. Nobody really asked for it. It seemed completely random. Of course, it basically existed so they could have one. Then you look at how they ran Medal of Honor into the ground. You know, Medal of Honor, once a very lauded, well-known franchise. And then, of course, you got Battlefield. That's a strange one because Battlefield 1, humongous success. Battlefield 5, in many ways a really good game, but they could not have marketed that thing worse. Just their flailing about has been completely insane. I mean, do you remember Firestorm? That was never going to work in the way that they did it. 2042, at one point it was basically a 128-player battle royale. No, it wasn't a BR. It was a kind of like big extraction-y thing. But yeah, basically it was missing loads of features that were standard for a Battlefield game, and they basically gutted DICE as a company. Yes, their retention was essentially that bad. So the game launched, the audience didn't really like it. I mean, the audience, like the BF1 people didn't like it, the BF4 people didn't like it, BF5 people didn't like it. So you had a weird-ass situation. What they ended up doing is they completely rebuilt the team under new leadership. They actually were able to get some of the people who left back. They've tried to rebuild things, and what's interesting then is when you take a look at the Steam player numbers over time, you see a broad equivalence between 2042, 5, and 1. 5 is usually slightly better, and I think that's just because, like, actually Battlefield 5 as a video game is really quite brilliant. I enjoyed the building stuff. I think the gunplay just represented a really great improvement over what we usually had in Battlefield. But now, where things get interesting is development on Battlefield 2042 as a live game has ended despite a surge of interest last year. So they did this post, the BF 2042 Continued Support Update, where basically what's happening is teams are not going to be producing seasonal content, but some good things are happening. They're bringing across long requested vehicles and weapons from Battlefield Portal, along with, skins, upgrades, all that stuff. There's still some new stuff. There's a Halloween event, there's modes and stuff. People have enjoyed zombie bullshit, which I think is kind of cool. I mean, at the very least, it brings me back to the good old days of just running onto a zombie server on Call of Duty 2. That was a very long time ago now. But yes, basically, otherwise, 2042 is now just going to live in the same holding pattern as 5 and 1, which then makes you think, what the hell are DICE doing? What are they working on? Well, them and multiple other studios are doing the next generation of Battlefield experiences. That's obviously how Andrew Wilson, CEO of EA, would put it. But it's widely believed to be a classic multiplayer Battlefield suite, a single-player campaign, and a free-to-play component, all pretty much existing on the same platform, the same core, coming at the earliest 2025. Problem is, for many people, 2025 could be a little bit too late. They have been burned too many times, and I think in too quick succession, to actually still be fans of the Battlefield series. And that means they were probably pretty damn interested in Delta Force Hawk Ops. Yeah, that's, it does kind of sound like a mobile game, but no. What it is a game that is explicitly being modeled on Battlefield. We have seen, as to do the obvious example, a bunch of Jack Frags videos, titles like Delta Force is good, Battlefield finally has some competition, which, you know what, is all good, positive stuff, all stuff that I want. In terms of what it is, you've got Havoc Warfare, which is just the kind of like big Battlefield-style gameplay. There's an extraction mode and a campaign, with the campaign being based on Black Hawk Down. So, kind of interesting to see if they're able to do that right. Anyway, free-to-play, first-person shooter, squad-based gameplay, lots of weapon customization, just, proper big-ass point capture, modern military shooter. And funnily enough, it's a brand from 1999. What happened here is Tencent, it's Tencent. They purchased the rights from Embracer. Embracer, of course, got the rights from THQ Nordic. So the campaign then is actually a remake of the 2003 Black Hawk Down-based entry into this franchise. Havoc Warfare is basically the breakthrough mode of Battlefield, and Extraction mode is, of course, a Tarkov-alike. But maybe spicily for some people, it is copying the specialist system from Battlefield. Yes, individual specialists with gadgets that are unique to them. Yeah, it's that, and it's a Tencent developed free-to-play game, which certainly does mean that there will be some concerns, especially because it's pretty easy to do your open beta and not include all of the things that people may not like, such as how you're going to monetize the game. Tell you what though, there is actually some competition here. I mean, the industry always loves to compare Call of Duty and Battlefield, but Battlefield has never came close to Call of Duty in terms of sales. They are pretty damn different games. And now, yeah, Call of Duty has had some modes that have got like way larger maps with pretty damn big team sizes actually, but even those, they're just not Battlefield. I mean, my perspective is mainly a Battlefield 2 player. So, you know, way back before all of the modern Battlefields and before the franchise really exploded. So that's the thing. COD's not really, it's not really the same thing as this. But in a way, it's actually been a while since we've had competition that I think is actually trying to do particularly the Battlefield thing. Obviously, there are milsims and milsim-like games like your Squads, your Hell Let Loose's, but I think to go more specifically to Battlefield, you're looking at Frontlines, Fuel of War, MAG, and BattleBit Remastered. Of course, Frontlines and MAG just completely failed, and BattleBit, look, it was really big at the start, but now it's got a smaller average player size community than 2042. Which I think in actually several ways does make some sense. But we've actually now seen multiple games from ex-Battlefield developers like The Finals, which was basically entirely geared around the destruction aspect. Thing is though, The Finals is actually pretty consistently dropping in player numbers, and Nexon is working with them on player retention as a problem. So I guess we're just left in this interesting little situation, right? When you're taking on a big incumbent like Battlefield, you either need to sort of slightly outclass them in all fronts, or to have a truly incredible selling point. Both of those will be expensive. In either case, Tencent can afford that, but I mean, it's the return on investment and how they will try to monetize that. But thinking about those requirements in Delta Force, well, Delta Force does have large-scale warfare, but it's not the traditional conquest mode. There is class-based gameplay. Like, the specialist system didn't go down well with people, so I don't know, a bit suspicious about that. And free-to-play, which does mean approachability, it does mean scale, but the monetization is unclear, and I do not think people will be particularly trusting. So I think with Delta Force exploding, well, it's because of what that beta is. I think it's because of a lot of the pent-up desires of that community. Do I actually think when it is out with its full monetization and everything, that it will be some surefire like thing that's able to dethrone Battlefield? Honestly, no, I don't. I just don't think they'll be able to get the monetization right. So yeah, is the excitement because Delta Force looks good, or is it because Delta Force looks a bit closer to people's imagined ideal of a Battlefield as compared to 2042, or is it just that it looks like a Battlefield and it's not from EA, so that's good? And I guess that's really the issue that EA face most of the time. In Apex, in Battlefield, and The Sims, there is competition coming up. Like, yes, Life by You may be dead, but hey, Power Lives is still there. Like, I just think to myself, there are so many people who are lapsed Battlefield players, and I think Delta Force will be able to tap into that, and that's why I think it popped off in the way that it did. Do I think that means it's a surefire success? No. And actually, when I look at all of this, I just kind of facepalm and think, guys, you've got different flavors of Battlefield. All of those games can exist, right? That's kind of the problem with EA's old way of wanting a new game every year, a new game every 2 years, because look, what they tried to do was to have a new big COD competitor every year. So they were like, we're going to do a Battlefield, and then a Medal of Honor, and then a Battlefield, and then a Medal of Honor. And funny enough, in doing that, they almost killed both of them. GG. But look, Battlefield 1 actually gets loads of players. What would happen if they tried to support that game more? Add some more content in. That's one thing. Battlefield 5. Very notable game, because with 5 it was pitched to be a kind of like through the years Second World War. That's why at the start you had parts of the war that are actually not what people think of when they think of the big movies, or at least the big Western movies. But when you actually look at the content support for that game, it's like, all right, I mean, yeah, you got yourself into 1940 and stuff, and then you're like, bam, bam, they just kind of jump ahead, and you know, they don't really cover, I think, the Eastern Front properly, and you just kind of like feel that, okay, I get it. You did parts of, you know, like African campaign, you know, stuff in in Europe, as well as in the earlier days. And then you just jump to the Pacific Theater, which, hey, I mean, great. That was good content, but it just didn't feel like it was the whole experience it was supposed to be. And I guess so many of us look at all this and we think, isn't it really funny that as soon as you guys switch to doing a live service model, your games just become worse supported? Bit odd, because back in my day, I paid for my maps. Funnily enough, it meant I got loads of maps and was a really happy player of Battlefield 1. Anyway, I almost just think some of this, it's like the problems Creative Assembly are facing, where, yeah, they do Troy or Pharaoh, but what about all those people who are playing Medieval 2? Like, the thing that they're struggling with in terms of competition is people already like things that they've done before. I don't know. So yeah, I suppose it's Battlefield. What does that mean? Well, you probably want something set in the Second World War. Given the series' history, you probably want a modern military game. Turns out Battlefield 1 was actually really, really damn good, so we'll have one of those as well. Could we not just take these things and maybe progress them, make them better? I don't know, I think it would be kind of sensible. You look at Battlefield Portal, and I think when you look at Portal, you think, oh boy, you have the technology. It's just, can you pull that together into product that will be compelling and that will actually be targeted at people who already like Battlefield, right? Like, I think the most growth Battlefield can get is from getting Battlefield people to play Battlefield. Because my God, in today's industry, it is going to be so hard to get new players from completely different games. No, you got to go to us 30-year-old, odd, ancient, decrepit people who played Battlefield. An old man's game, not Valorant. No, Battlefield needs to be Battlefield, made for the Battlefield fan base. They forgot that. They kept on forgetting that. And as they forgot that, guess what? We fucking left. That's it for me. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you next time.